Good evening and welcome to CTV Sports. I'm Steven Starcer.
And I'm Keith Albertson. The football team played in arguably its biggest game of the past 5 seasons on Saturday. The Mountain West Division leading Boise State Broncos came to town coming off a bad loss to BYU. The Rams were looking for their first 3-game winning streak since McElwain became coach. This game had all the offense that you would expect out of these two teams, but unfortunately the Rams didn't come out on top. Another stellar performance by Capri Bibbs and more than 600 yards of offense by the Rams was overshadowed by their continued struggles on defense. The secondary seemed to get burned on every play, despite Boise's starting quarterback riding the bench with an ankle injury. Backup Grant Hendrick didn't miss a beat in his second game as a starter and threw for 5 touchdown passes en route to a 42-30 victory over the Rams. Now, Steven, it's been the same question for the Rams all season long. Can the offense score enough points to make up for the defensive struggles?
Yeah, I wish the conversation would change a little bit because I don't think the offense should have to go out there and put up that many points for us to be able to win games. I just think the defense, even if the opponent drives on them, they have to be able to hold them to some field goals, force a few more punts in this one, maybe get a turnover here and there. I just think this team needs to start holding opponents down, not letting them get very comfortable where they go like Boise State did in this one and put up consecutive touchdowns against them. I think CSU isn't going to have much more success this year if they continue to throw it 50-plus times a game. I think they need to continue to kind of get that balance, run the ball a little bit more with Bibbs. Earlier on the game, they had the 10-0 lead in this one. They forced that early turnover, but they couldn't hold on to that lead, and it's unfortunate, and the defense definitely still is having trouble giving up the big play.
Yeah, and that's been the issue all season, giving up the big play. Luckily, though, Capri Bibbs has been able to find the end zone. Another 3 touchdowns in this game. That puts him at 12 touchdowns in the last 5 games and 15 on the season, which leads all NCAA in the FBS.
The guy has definitely stepped up for the Rams. It's been amazing to see him score that much. He's been a big bright spot for this team. It would just, once again, need to see the complete, consistent game from this team. They get the win against Wyoming, go to Hawaii, get a big win there, come back at home, and they take another step back in the loss to Boise. You'd like to just see them continue. I mean, they fought hard for 4 quarters in this one. There's definitely not a lack of effort, but the quality of play needs to be there for full 4 quarters to get victories.
And Boise is a good team. That's not a bad loss by any means. 12 points. You would have loved to see them get the victory in this one, especially at home. But the biggest issue to me is, of course, the defense, giving up 42 points. But not only that, but the way that Boise was moving down the field. They had 6 touchdown drives, and every single one of them was under 2.5 minutes long. They were just flowing down the field. Nothing the Rams could do to stop them.
Yeah, the defense, like I said, got to hold them to some field goals, not always let them go out there and get 7 points and force a few more punts, and I think turnovers could help with that. I think Shaquille Barrett, it'll be nice to see him improve and get that big playmaking like we saw earlier on in the year.
Mm-hmm. So, Steven, 4 games left. I've got to ask you, we got to win 3 of them to become bowl eligible. What do you think our chances are of winning 3 of our last 4 games?
I think they have a good chance, Keith, because the 4 opponents they have definitely aren't that tough. I don't think any one of those teams is as tough as Boise State was coming into Hughes. But once again, I'm skeptical of this team going out there and getting those victories because we haven't seen the consistent play throughout an entire game for them. I definitely think it's possible, though. Hopefully the Rams can go on a run and get 3 of those 4.
Yeah, and definitely it starts with Saturday against Nevada, not a very strong opponent. Back at home, you want to see the team be able to fight, and McElwain, really wants this one.
Yeah, he's definitely been pushing that he still has faith in his team. They've been working hard in practice each and every week, and I think they definitely have put in the work to get it done. We just got to start seeing those results on the field.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So it's a disappointing loss for the football team, but fortunately the football team wasn't the only CSU team to play this weekend.
Stay tuned to see how the basketball teams fared in their first exhibition games of the season.
Don't go away.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back. The men's basketball team squared off against Regis in its first exhibition game of the season. This was set up to be an easy win for the Rams against a smaller D2 opponent, but Regis proved they weren't going down without a fight. The Rangers led for most of the game thanks to some key shooting and poor offense by the Rams, but CSU eventually pulled it together and won it on a clutch layup by JJ Avila with 8 seconds left. Keith, it definitely wasn't a pretty game for the Rams, but all in all, they came out with a victory. What do you think they need to do to improve as the season moves forward?
I think there's plenty that they need to improve on. It wasn't a very strong game for the Rams, especially against this weaker Regis opponent. I know you graduated all your starters, but you'd like to see us shake off the rust a little better than that against a team like Regis. But I think the biggest thing that we need to work on is perimeter defense. It killed us all last season. Teams were able to beat us with the 3-ball, and that's exactly what the Rangers did in this game on Saturday.
Yeah, the Rangers definitely shot the ball well from the 3. They got out to the early lead. It was good to see the young Rams respond and be able to come back and get the victory in the clutch here at home at Mowbray Arena. I would like to see this young team pick up the pressure a little bit on defense. They only had 3 steals and 12 points off turnovers in this game. I think they need to double those numbers, really use their athletic ability and the young legs to take advantage, get some easy points in transition. I think that's going to help this team score a little bit more. You don't have Colton Iverson to pound the ball down low like you did last year, so I think they're more of an open court team rather than a half court team like we saw last year. Keith, in this basketball game, who do you think had a really good performance for the Rams?
You know, I got to say JJ Avila. He showed up and really lived up to the hype that had kind of been built throughout the offseason. Big 4-man, got some clutch points, including the game winner with 12 seconds left. 26 points on the day, 12 rebounds, great numbers for him.
Also 5 assists, so he was kind of doing it all for the Rams in this one, being their main playmaker. I personally liked the performance of John Octius. He was a young player who stepped up and played a nice role on the team in last year's NCAA tournament team, but I think this year they're looking for him to play even more, score a little bit more, and he had 17 points, was 5 of 10 from the field. Most of his misses were from beyond the arc, so he's efficient inside the 3-point line, but no assists for him in this game. I think for CSU to have a successful season, you need Octius and some of these other guards to step up and be playmakers.
Absolutely, and just kind of the shooting was an issue. You saw a lot of missed shots there. The layups were a big problem. Not being able to hit the easy shots for the Rams that they should have been hitting.
Yeah, you have to make the easy ones, especially when you lost so much of your scoring from last year's team and a lot of those seniors. So you have to take advantage. And like I said, I think if they get those points in transition, that's going to help them out immensely.
Especially, they're going to need that going into Friday, their first game of the season against Colorado Springs. But then Monday, they jump right into it against number 14 Gonzaga on the road. They go down to Washington against a really tough team. Do you think there's a chance that we can pull it together by then?
I mean, there's always a chance. That's why you play the game, Keith. I think in this tough environment in Spokane, going against a team with the history that Gonzaga has, making all the NCAA tournament appearances, it's going to be a tough test for the Rams. But I think Coach Eustace and his team is going to be excited to go compare themselves to one of the best teams in the nation. I think that's going to be important early on to kind of see where they're at. Obviously, they're going to improve as the season moves forward, but I think the Rams could get a lot of positives out of this game, whether it's a win or a loss.
Yeah, and it's a Gonzaga team that there were a lot of questions about whether they were overrated last season, a 1 seed going into the tournament, and they had that early exit. So you look, they did lose a couple guys, and they're still ranked 14th in the nation. So maybe they are a little overrated. I'd love to see the Rams go down there next Monday and really show that they are. Get that win, pull it together a little bit more, and use some of those tips.
And it would also be great to see some of the other players besides Octius and Avila step up and have a big performance.
Definitely. And the women's basketball also played this weekend. They took on Black Hills State and came out with an easy victory. Steven, what did you like about this team that struggled so much last season?
The first half they came out and played tremendous defense, held Black Hills to just 18 points in this one. Watching this game for the Rams, they go out and shoot a lot of three-pointers, and that's going to be a good thing if you're hitting them. Obviously, it's tough for any team to win a game when the opponent is shredding it from beyond the arc. The three-point shot is such a valuable shot. in the game of basketball. But if this team is having a cold night shooting, I think they could run into some trouble trying to score the ball. I think AJ Newton's a player who could help them in that. She's leading the team right now, 17 points per game on the season. I think they need to continue to try and get some balanced scoring. Obviously, they haven't played the toughest competition yet in the season, but they had some other players step up and score in double figures. They're going to need players to continue to step up and try and score points.
Yeah, exactly. And especially against teams that are a little bit tougher than Black Hills State. The Mountain West isn't as tough on the women's side as it is on the men's, but there are still some tough opponents, and I think they also need to pull it together and really grow from last season's struggles.
Without a doubt, Keith. And the volleyball team keeps rolling and rolling.
We've got the latest rankings and analysis coming up next.
So, I got this new family, and I don't know what it is about this one, but she can't seem to put down that toy all day long. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, and she even talks to it. She talks to that more than she talks to him. What's up, bro? Nice shirt. Who's she talking to? Her mom? She talks to her mom a lot.
The CSU women's volleyball team defeated the Boise State Broncos 3-0 and then came back from 2-0 down to beat Utah State on the road last week. This helped the team set a program record by starting 21-0 on the year, but that was not enough to move them up in the national rankings or even keep them where they were. They dropped from number 9 to number 10 in the nation in the latest poll released today. CSU did dominate against Boise State with several players getting in on the action as the Rams continued with their balanced play. But things were a little bit different against the Aggies as the Rams were outplayed early and even faced a couple of match points. But the team showed their resilience as they fought back and won in 5 sets, making history. Adriana Colbert was named Mountain West Player of the Week for the second time. She is the only player on the team, to win it twice this season. It seems no matter what this Rams team does, there's always going to be doubters and naysayers, Keith. What can this team do to impress people out there?
I think they are impressing people. 10th in the nation. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable, especially when there are 64 teams that go to the tournament at the end of the year. I think that's what the Rams are really building up to, and that's where they want to prove to people how well they've been playing.
Yeah, for me, they just have to focus on continuing to win in the conference, try and be able to host that first NCAA tournament game, which will be great for the community and for the program. And then you just got to go out there and beat those top teams that everyone's saying is tougher than them.
Yeah, and they've been beating the teams that they should beat. They've been going out there and they've showed a lot of resilience, being down 2-0, facing match point a couple times in the third set, but really coming back. And it's been excellent to see them play, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I hope they keep it up.
And the CSU women's soccer program played in its final match of the season on Friday night in Greeley. And there was no doubt that the Rams left it all on the field. CSU concluded its inaugural season with a 2-2 draw against the UNC Bears. The team was able to end its 5-game scoring drought early in the first half, but still trailed 2-1 at the break. Then in the 69th minute, Lizzie Gogolovsky found the back of the net for the second time in the game. This tied the match at 2, which went on to be the final. Head coach Bill Hempen said after the match that his young girls played their tails off and gave every ounce of energy they had all season long. The soccer team finished with a 2-13-3 record on the year. It's good to see this team able to come back and close off a rough season like this, Stephen.
Yeah, season definitely didn't go the way the Rams would have hoped, but there's definitely plenty of room for improvement.
Yep, definitely. And that's all the time we have for you tonight, but we'll see you next week. Have a good night.